It's been 3 months since our last tier shifts, and so today the tier shifts finally happened, and I decided to check out how NU fared. NU got a lot of tier shifts this rotation. We lost a lot of really important Pokemon, and we gained a couple of Pokemon that may prove to be either staples of the tier or really annoying to the point where they might need to be banned for the tier. One of those Pokemon is Cresselia. Cresselia may take the place of Slowbro, at least in my mind. Cresselia takes the place of Slowbro. You can never really replace the Regenerator that Slowbro had, but Cresselia technically has a bit more bulk and has Levitate, which is good for Pokemon like Flygon specifically, because if you Terra Steel, then you resist dragon moves, you're immune to Earthquake. If you Terra Fairy, of course, that's even better, but I don't really like that necessarily, because then you can get Toxic, and that's really annoying. In this particular team, I was thinking, oh, let's run a Future Sight set. Future Sight, Moonlight, and then Thunder Wave to be annoying. And then I had Shadow Ball last, just for a move to hit opposing Psychic types, as well as just good neutral coverage, as opposed to Moonblast. I'm not really sure if I like that at the end of the day, but it didn't seem to hurt me in too many of the battles I was in. I wasn't thinking that I needed Ice Beam, for example. Although some Pokemon did stay in on my Cresselia with Flygon, which I thought was very disrespectful. Another Pokemon that dropped that it's going to be interesting to see how it fares is Chinchino. Chinchino is a Pokemon that if it doesn't have any appropriate walls, any appropriate countermeasures, is really broken, because it has Technician, Tail Slap, Technician, Bullet Seed. It's got Triple Axle, Knockoff, and it can just bust through your team with a Tidy Up and load of dice. And it could also run other sets on it, but I think that's probably still the best one. However, there are a few options. I saw somebody mention Mudsdale. I think Mudsdale will be pretty good. And I don't think the Registeel by itself might not even be that bad. But when I was thinking about it, I was like, oh, what about having the dog? It's got Fluffy, it's going to be immune to Tail Slap, and it doesn't really care about the Rock Blast or the Bullet Seed or whatever, and I can just body press you. Even if you trash sliced into something else, I can just burn you, potentially as well. So I put Cresselia on, and I put on the dog, and then I was thinking, okay, well, I needed something for Spadef Pokemon, and I always go to Muck for that job. And so once I had those three guys on the team, then it just really looked really bulky. And having three bulky Pokemon, Cresselia, the Houndstone, and the Muck, you don't necessarily have a good time just tossing on three offensive mon and calling it a day. And it just started to look more and more like a stall team. And I don't usually run stall teams, but I thought, you know what, today, let's try a stall team. Let's just see how it goes. So I tossed on the Unaware for the Quagsire. I think that it would be better if we had a better Unaware mon like, Skeletors or something. But you can see that in these games, Quagsire's Unaware is sometimes very valuable. And the Serena is there, of course, to be a rapid spinner, because you don't want to just have your entire team have to have heavy duty boots, and you don't want to get spikes stacked on. Registeel is the win con of the team usually. Registeel has always been a fantastic RU and new Pokemon. It lost Seismic Toss, but it still has the Iron Defense Body Press set. And Iron Defense Body Press is just superb. It makes for a great win con for Stall. Stall usually, I feel like, gets to pick its win con, and so I don't know if this is full proper Stall or if it's just very bulky semi-Stall. But having the ability to just Iron Defense and then blow up your opponent's team is really valuable. So I really do like this Registeel set. It is sort of a wonky set because you still want Heavy Slam just so you're not completely walled by ghosts, and so it's not full on rest talk. And so while you're asleep, you are sort of a sitting duck, especially because you don't have aromatherapy in this generation that much. So you can't wake your teammate up in that way that you might have in previous gens. But it still works, and in fact, one of the funny things about this team that it actually does really poorly against, it does poorly against Pokemon that you normally would expect, like Stall Breakers, like Porygon Z. The Pokemon that can just blow you up. And you can see in these games that Pokemon like even Specs Chandelure give it a really hard time. One of the Pokemon that this team does struggle with is actually Vileplume, because we only have one Poison type, one Steel type. They both have a decently high attack stat, so you're going to give it a lot of strength stat back. And Cresselia is there, and you can Terra Steel it, but because it doesn't have an immediate Psychic type move, you have to rely on Future Sight. The Vileplume can always switch out. So having Rest and no Sleep Talk on the Registeel actually allows you to PP stall Vileplume, which isn't the end of the world when it comes to how you can counterplay it. It just is really annoying and is one of the deficiencies of this team as it's currently built. Now, in retrospect, I think that having Future Sight Crest could work on a more offensive team, maybe a Volt Tourney kind of team with Mienshao and a couple other good Pokemon that'll force in Dark types and then kill them with Fighting type moves. But maybe you could have a Psyshock or a Psychic even. Just have Psychic Ice Beam or Psychic Moonblast, 2 attacks on this Cresselia. Other Cresselia sets are probably going to be more broken than this set, but this is just the one that my mind first went to, and then I built the team around it accordingly. One other funny potential problem with this team that I noticed right at the beginning. In the beginning, my Houndstone had Poltergeist, and Poltergeist is good on Houndstone because Houndstone isn't going to invest in its attack stat, but its attack stat is decent, and so it would be good to have a nice stab option. However, this team doesn't have any form of priority, and sometimes you just have a little bit of chip and you just need to get that last little bit off on your opponent. And so having Shadow Sneak is good. And also I was noticing a lot of times Muck was coming in, knocking things off, and then they'd be Poltergeist immune, which is really annoying. So I think Shadow Sneak Body Press is still better on the dog. And then we just have Pain Split last so that we don't have to have double rest with no Sleep Talk, which I think is bad. But that'll be it for today's video, and I'll catch you guys next time.